All right, we welcome you into the Steelers part of the show. I would like to address the irony that I am wearing a Baltimore Ravens hat. I have made promises to my coworkers that I will be as unbiased as possible, and I've also mentioned that I am higher on the Steelers than I think most people are, just in general, because out of respect for Mike Tomlin and Ben Roethlisberger, you guys are going to win at least 9 games, and I know there's nothing could possibly. Mason Rudolph and Duck Hodges won 8 of their first 11 games.
Right.
Look, at a certain point, I've watched. I'm 20. The Steelers haven't had a losing record since 03. I was 2. Come on. The only thing I've seen from the Steelers is winning, whether that's Tomlin, whether that's Cowher, whether that's Chuck Noll. That's 50 years of being consistently like the Steelers are going to win 10 games. They're going to go 10-6, or in the 14-game era, they're going to go 10-4, whatever it may be. So welcome. You wanted me to call you Stryker. That's cool. Yeah. So how's it going? And welcome.
So it's the Stryker and Splash show now, right?
Yeah, I love it. I like it a lot. I like it.
And I'm a big. I live in the Baltimore area, so I know the Baltimore scene very well. I worked for the Ravens during their 2000 championship.
Ooh,
I was very happy that they got a team when I was living in Baltimore because I got to see my Steelers once a year at home. But yeah, I always have a lot of respect for Baltimore Ravens as well. Got a lot of Ravens friends. And like I said, they're football fanatics just like Steelers are. They're just a little newer to it, and they're as much of a diehard as any team. So
yeah, I think that's the best thing about the rivalry is that it's not even like a big brother, little brother thing. It's just like mutual respect.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's the consistent winning. It's a decade of Flacco versus Ben. It's a decade plus of going on 15 years now of Harbaugh versus Tomlin, and it's
right.
There's never a dull moment. There's rarely a blowout. Even the game on the Thanksgiving game that I thought the Steelers were going to win by 35, Marquise Brown turned into a 1-score game because Joe Hayden forgot how to play football for 2 seconds.
Right.
So
but that's the rivalry. No matter what their records are, you got to throw the records out the window. It's going to be a competitive game. Both teams are built to stop the other team. That's how we build teams. Baltimore's built to stop Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's built to stop Baltimore. And then whoever advances in that division usually ends up going pretty far in the playoffs.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's glorious thing that, if Baltimore doesn't win, then you've lost to a team that might actually win the Super Bowl, like in 2008, which still breaks my heart every time. But yeah,
it's a nice play by Polamalu, but I mean, Flacco was a young quarterback at the time. I mean, there's a lot on his shoulders, and he still put together probably the single greatest playoff run by a quarterback ever with 11 touchdowns, no interceptions. I was actually at 2 of those games. Went to the one in Baltimore, and my friend was dating a girl in Denver and took me out there as his good luck charm the week after, and they ended up winning that one too.
I'm jealous. I remember I called my dad. At that point, I didn't call my dad at work a lot, but that day I think I called him 4 different times during the Broncos game.
Yeah.
Like I called him after both Holiday touchdown returns, and then after the Jacoby Jones play, and then after some random play that I'm forgetting. But that was one of the greatest games ever.
Yeah, and that long deep pass at the end of the game over the coverage was in our end zone where we were sitting. So it was a lot of and my friend's a diehard my best friend, he's a diehard Ravens fan. So Coast Guard, Ravens fan, right there from Baltimore Coast.
All right. So first of all, I want to just throw this out there that longtime uSTADIUM fans will know that one of the happiest moments in my life as a Ravens fan was us drafting Rashad Bateman. And as soon as I finished yelling, we got Bateman on our live draft stream, I immediately went into talking about how the Steelers opened their Super Bowl window by drafting Najee friggin' Harris. So first off, I want to get were you wanting Najee at 24 or did you want a tackle, or what was your thought process heading into that?
I would have taken a marquee tackle had they dropped. I was on record on the podcast and on the Philly podcast as well. They took a lot of different teams and wanted to know who you pick. And I was on Travis Etienne at the time. I wanted a running back. I thought he had a little bit more of a diverse skill set, but I did not know one single metric for me, which really swung me back over to Najee 100%. And that was, what, did the guy fumble once or twice in a college?
Yeah, it was unreal.
Unreal. And one of them, he stood up and they're ripping it out of him after they stopped his forward progression. So Alabama fans are like, that's not even a real fumble. They stood him up and mugged him.
Yeah,
national television.
Yeah, I guess my least favorite thing about the whole Najee thing was I'm in a AFC North group chat, and all the Steelers fans were sending the same picture of Najee mossing Patrick Queen from 2 years ago.
Jeez.
And I'm just like, come on, first round pick. Queen's can't do much there.
Yeah, well, Queen's a heck of a player. I have really liked. I've been following the draft and doing a draft show as well. We stay live also during the draft. And not as much of a marathon as you're doing today, obviously. 7 hours, I think, was my limit on the or 7 or 8 when we did day 3, and I stayed on 2 to do the pickups after the draft.
We only did day 1.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, we did 3 days. So, but I got to space it out a little bit. But awesome, congratulations to what you're doing here too, Splash. This is really cool stuff. And donate, guys. Everybody, Steeler Nation, you're listening. Donate here. Link tr.ee/uSTADIUM. Letter U. STADIUM. So there's the plug. Back to the draft.
Yeah.
And so I like that year. It seemed you picked every single top-rated defensive player in the draft as it came on our weighted board, because I think Steelers draft boards are weighted somewhat similarly to the needs and the types of players the Baltimore Ravens fans pick up as well. But yeah, you guys getting Queen that year. You guys got that, that great defensive lineman too. But you just guys were just making good pick after.
In 2020, Madubuike?
Yeah. Yes. Yep.
I really, if I had the funds, I would be buying a white Justin Madubuike jersey. I was wearing a Marlon Humphrey jersey earlier, and I thought, well, it's raining outside, so I took it off. But I don't know if I should wear my Marlon jersey to this. But I really do need a white one, and a Madubuike would look nice. So thank you for the $275 donation, Charles Leno. Of course, Leno was on the show earlier. He came on for 15 minutes. Great guy. Really cool family man. Really enjoyed that. I was backstage for that. That was really cool to vibe with him. I guess it's a vibe. It's really cool. Interacting with an NFL player is awesome, and I don't think even as I get more into this, it's never going to lose its luster. It's always going to be that, wow, I'm getting to talk to an NFL player. So
that's great.
Yeah, I was terrified of the Najee pick, because I think it was the only pick, with all due respect, I think it was the only pick that opens your Super Bowl window. Yeah. Well, Steelers really, they just did a complete change last year, obviously. I mean, I heard you just rattle off the teams that didn't have a 100-yard rusher. And if the Steelers didn't start off the year, at least in the first 4 weeks, getting some 100-yard rushers, they had zero chance down the stretch with the injuries at offensive line and started losing some guys there. But they went – this is the first time since I've been following the Steelers that they went 4 straight offensive player picks in the draft. Start with Najee, second round taking Pat Freiermuth, the tight end out of Penn State. Love that pick.
Yeah, me too. Third round getting Kendrick Green.
I'll give 3 thumbs up for that one. Yeah. I wanted him desperately wanted him in Baltimore.
And for Steelers, too, to be converting him from a guard to a center, they saw something in him that they liked from the Senior Bowl, and he's locked it down now. He's going to be the starting center of the Steelers. And then we got in the fourth round, we got what's his first? Moore Jr. I know that.
Dan Moore Jr.?
Yes, I believe. And
I hadn't heard much of him heading into the draft, but the first 3 picks, top notch.
Yeah, but he's been doing very well in camp. We had our starters, Banners coming back from his ACL injury, and Chooks has been trying to fight his way back early on. So he's getting a ton of snaps at his natural position of left tackle. Got his ass kicked first couple of days of training camp by, All-Pro Cameron Hayward, getting into scuffles and that. But he just progressively kept getting better and better and stronger, better hands, better technique, better weight distribution as it went on. And he started looking pretty solid to the point where he has not let up a pressure in preseason from the left tackle spot. And that was pretty interesting. And then he moved over and played some right tackle for when Banner went out at the first drive from the last game. So he's getting some work on both sides of the line. He's obviously going to be our swing tackle and going to be the extra tackle off the field. So 4 players in the offense that are all going to be immediate contributors this season. And also another offensive weapon I used to tell people, Splash, that, I could play in the NFL. I'm built like a punter. I'm 6 foot, 180 pounds soaking wet with a pocket full of nickels. But now I can no longer say that because the Steelers drafted this guy by the name of Percy Harvin III. And this guy,
a large man.
He's a unit. He's built like a tractor trailer.
There's one shout out to Ari. She's a Jets fan on the app. She is from the Atlanta area. I'm from the Atlanta area too. So she was Presley Harvin, always posting pictures of him. And she would do like art about him. And it was, hey, look, the Steelers got this guy in the 7th round, and he's going to be their punter of the future. And he can. It's like the kind of like the Marquette King shock value of why is he playing punter? Oh wait, this man is really good at the whole punting the football.
Yes.
So
throwing that body weight into that leg, and
that's exciting.
He is athletic as hell. Yeah,
I love punt. I have an inordinate amount of love for punting for some reason.
Well, your team always has excellent kickers. Coke is amazing. I mean, he's a field flipper. And, of course, and honestly, like Justin Tucker, in my opinion, is the single greatest kicker to ever play in the NFL. The guy hits 50-yarders like people hit extra points. The guy is just money. Absolute money.
I mean, I'd probably lean Vinatieri is greater, but I think Tucker is unequivocally the best kicker. That it's just a matter of, Tucker's been in the league 9 years. If he does it for 9 more years and a couple more years after that, then you're getting into that Vinatieri range. Because Vinatieri was really good for 2 decades, long enough to go from, I think, PS1 to PS4 in terms of like Madden, right?
Yeah.
And Tucker's just gone from Xbox 360 to Xbox, One Series X. So he's not quite as far along, but undeniable. And I think the Ravens have had a current, future, or former All-Pro kicker every season, whether it was Matt Stover, who was an All-Pro in 2000.
Yes.
Billy
who I thought was I thought he should have been their offensive MVP that season. He was amazing in the 2000 run because Dilfer wasn't the best quarterback, but he didn't make mistakes. Their special teams and defense kept them on short fields. And Stover was putting them through.
All-Pro that year, I believe.
Yes, Jermaine Lewis was killing it that season as a returner. Yeah,
and the one like competent Ravens wide receiver ever drafted. So hopefully Rashad Bateman flips that. So,
but Shannon Sharp on that team, Shannon Sharp was amazing on that team as well as a very competent receiving tight end. It was back then you had to be a blocking tight end as well, and he would destroy people and go out for passes. So. Yeah, he was a really tough tight end to defend.
Sometimes I wish my life was shifted like 5 years so I could like watch those Ravens, right? My first introduction to Ravens football was January 2007, Colts at Ravens in the playoffs. And that was 15-6, bunch of field goals. And apparently the game of Ray Lewis's life, I looked after the fact, and Ed Reed's life for some reason, that both of them, like by PFF grade, so grain of salt. Yeah. It was the best game either of them ever had, and it happened to be in the same game.
Wow.
And they lost.
Wow. It goes to show you that defense can win championships, but it's not always going to win you games.
Yeah, absolutely. So I did love the Kendrick Green pick. I know I made a mock maybe 2 weeks before the draft, and I thought, hey, that shiny, I think maybe before the Orlando Brown trade, that shiny 3rd round pick that Baltimore had that they eventually traded, that'd be a great spot for Kendrick Green.
Yeah.
And then he goes to Pittsburgh and we trade, make the Orlando Brown trade. And I woke up to that. So.
And that's the way it always is like Steelers fans last year when we didn't have a 1st round draft pick and they're like, we need a running back now. We were all about J.K. Dobbins. We wanted Dobbins like a madman. And then Ravens go ahead and pick Dobbins, and Steelers fans, Yinzer's like, they took Dobbins. He's going to kill us every year. And then we draft Claypool, and then Ravens fans go, they got another. We could have had Claypool. Son of a bitch. They got Juju, now they have Claypool.
Yeah. Yeah, now you get Mapletron. Although,
right?
I think, if I had to do like a top 10 nicknames, I think Mapletron's up there. I do pushes on the app, right? And I would just annoy the living heck out of everyone because I would push it out to every NFL fan. It's like Mapletron scores his 3rd touchdown. Mapletron scores his 4th touchdown. They're like, stop calling him Mapletron. I'm like, no.
It's a thing. We already have shirts out. It's the Megatron head with the maple leaf behind it.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. So, yeah, I loved your first 3 picks. I honestly had no clue who Dan Moore was, but I will trust the Pittsburgh judgment more than my judgment. So, for what that's worth, they scout players better than I do.
Yeah, well, Ozzie Smith was one of the best, or Ozzie Newsome. Sorry, I said Ozzie Smith. Ozzie Newsome was one of the best to ever live, especially finding defensive players everywhere in the draft. That guy was a freaking genius at finding people that fit that system, and they did. They always played well and seemed to play really, really well for you guys. So hopefully it's continuing here with the new regime because this is the first year, right, that he didn't pick.
I believe DaCosta's first pick was Hollywood Brown, I think.
Oh, okay. So 2 years ago.
2019. So
yeah.
2019 is kind of looking like a mixed bag, although for some godforsaken reason, Hollywood Brown is an all-time awesome playoff performer.
Yeah.
I have no explanation for that. He is on the same tier of Randy Moss and Rob Gronkowski and Devontae Adams in their first 2 playoff seasons.
Mm-hmm.
I have no answers. I've seen him drop 10 bazillion passes every week. He does, these shenanigans. It's like, but he killed Miami, and then he scores every time he plays against Minkah Fitzpatrick, and he scores. He has 100 yards every time he plays Cleveland, and he scores against Cincinnati. And I'm just. But you can't catch a 3rd and 5 against Kansas City. So Marquise Brown is a strange player to say the least. But I thought Claypool was an awesome draft pick. It was a reach on my board, but Steelers choosing a wide receiver, I think you can just kind of like erase if you think it's a reach because Antonio Brown, James Washington, Emmanuel Sanders, Hines Ward. Right. The list goes on. So I think they've got the benefit of the doubt. And even I wasn't the biggest fan of the Odafe Owe pick at 31, but Ravens and edge rusher, okay.
Yeah.
If there's any spot you're going to take him to succeed, it's Baltimore. If there's any spot you're going to take Claypool to succeed, it's Pittsburgh. So, yeah. So,
and Ben is finally at the end of his career getting these tall, lanky receivers that he's always wanted. So,
sure. Yeah. It's instead of forcing balls to Antonio Brown, who's like barely 6 feet, now you're forcing to a guy called Mapletron.
That guy could get open like nobody's business, though. He was fantastic for us for all those years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm a little bummed out that I had to be a Ravens fan and had to hate Antonio Brown and have him ruin Christmas. If I was a fan of any,
I was at that game. That was the immaculate extension.
Oh, that was the worst.
Especially since he was tackled ahead. Who was on him? Waddle and was it Ray?
Yeah, I think it was Weddle and Zach Orr.
Yeah.
It was like when Zach Orr was the best linebacker in the NFL.
Right. Yeah.
He was like went from a guy I had never heard of, and then he was like second round or second team All Pro. It's like what? Who? Huh?
Right.
Yeah. Then I thought it was forward progress, but hey. It's Antonio Brown. Give him the touchdown.
Well, it was. He just decided to put the football forward then.
Yeah. So, bad memories for me. Let's quickly move on.
Okay.
So, speaking of memories, how many good memories do you think you're going to have from this 2021 Steelers team? What are you thinking? Are you expecting another division title? Expecting another playoff appearance? I know the general consensus with Pittsburgh is a little lower because you had the fall at the end of 2020 that I think is a little exaggerated. You guys did play some difficult teams. Washington's no small feat. And
they got one of the best front sevens in football.
Yeah, and then you always beat the Colts. There's a couple absolutes that the Steelers always beat the Colts. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Peyton Manning's playing Landry Jones. That would be 38-3 Steelers.
Right.
So over under is 8.5. I would imagine you say over because I would say over 2.
Yeah, well, the only reason, going into last season, I thought it was very disappointing the way they ended up losing down the stretch. They lost a couple key pieces on defense with the, Dupree going down, Bud Dupree, and then losing two of their starting inside linebackers with Devin Bush, who's just can cover the whole
rough.
field, and then losing Spillane, who in his first start turned a pick six in Baltimore.
We don't talk about that.
But he's an athletic guy. He can make plays. Both of them went down. Steelers had to go pick up Avery Williamson from the Jets and make an in-season trade for the guy. I mean, the guy's a tackle machine, don't get me wrong, but he's not covering people down the field. He's not a field-to-field guy. He can lock down the run game, but that was very difficult for us. We had obviously our offensive line just starting to get chipped away, and just, Ben's got to get the ball out as fast as possible because that was basically our only offense. And then Ravens were the ones that keyed off on it. Ravens are like, put everybody at 5 yards, work them 5 to 8 yards, don't let them catch anything because that's where the ball's coming. And that's where it was going every time.
I know I get roasted in the group chat because the Ravens got swept by the Steelers. And, of course, the RG3 excuse doesn't apply because in 2019 you guys didn't have Ben. So tomatoes there. So it's like, oh, well, you couldn't stop the Steelers even though you knew what play they were running. Okay, half the team was on the COVID list.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. You had a lot of people missing that game. That was a lot of your second, third stringers in that game. And you still almost won. It was a competitive game.
Yeah, that was it was angering. Is that a word? Angering? It made me mad.
Aggravating?
Aggravating works. It also gave rise to one of my favorites. Well, one of the worst stats of the season, but hilarious. James Prochet was targeted 3 times. It resulted in 13 Steelers points and 11 Raven yards.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah, how's that happen?
The Spillane pick six against with Lamar pick six with Spillane. He was targeting Prochet, and he was targeting RG3 was targeting Prochet when I think Hayden had a pick six in the Thanksgiving game, and then Boswell missed an extra point because why not?
Yeah, it's Boz. He's a really good kicker. He had one horrible year when he missed 7 kicks 2 years ago. Fortunately, Steelers kept him because I think he only missed like 2 kicks last year.
Yeah, he was awesome. He's a guy that is in that it's hard to have a top tier kicker because Tucker is Tucker. But
he's all world. He's best in the NFL ever.
If you have between 2 and the 6th best kicker in the NFL, that's perfectly fine. And Boswell has been a top 8 kicker at least every year, but 2018. So, Pittsburgh every year it's that well-rounded roster. It's the stars. I did my top 50 players earlier today, and it's Minka's there, Cam Hayward's there, TJ Watt's there, and I mentioned Stephon Tuitt in the first half of my top 100. It's like,
so we're not sure if he's going to play yet this year. He's not hurt per se. Well. I don't know if you guys know this, but his brother died, was killed in a hit and run earlier this year. So he's been at every practice. He hasn't participated in any practices. He's mourning. He's trying to make it one day at a time, and he's just having a tough time, getting into being a football player again. And Steelers just like, you take all the time you need, man. They're very deep on defense and defensive line. I thought defensive line was going to be a spot they weren't even going to draft because they were already 6 deep at defensive line, and now they're.
Oh my! That was a slam dunk.
What's that?
I love the Highsmith pick. It's another guy I want Baltimore to take Alex Highsmith, and then I looked later that day. It's like, really, Pittsburgh? Come on now.
Well, you know your stuff. A lot of people. He was a sleeper because he played for what? University of Charlotte.
Charlotte.
So yeah, I mean, he had that one great game against Clemson. I mean, he owned the tackles, and he was switching sides in that Clemson game. He didn't have trouble getting back and the cool thing about him this season, he is our training camp darling this year. He has shown the best improvement. He's showing he's got a higher floor than Bud Dupree ever had. Like, I think Bud Dupree's athleticism is off the charts. Absolutely, like ceiling like no other. But talking about floors, like coming into the league, Highsmith already had like 3 moves, and now he's refined them. So all throughout, he's gotten consistent pressure every time he was in any preseason game, and it sounds like he's getting consistent pressure against anybody that the Steelers throw at him in practice, though. I don't think our tackles are going to be top-tier NFL tackles this season. I think we have some good ones. But, yeah, I mean, with TJ Watt on one side and now with Highsmith, who's going to be giving a lot of people surprises this season, a lot of people are going to know who Alex Highsmith is at the end of the season.
Agreed.
because I think he can get to double digits, because we're playing 17 instead of 16 games now, but he's also going to be that higher floor than Bud Dupree. I think he's going to start feasting having TJ Watt on the other side and starting out. And now this gives us an interesting situation where I've seen Watt's been holding out, technically holding in. He's at all the Steelers practices and training camp, everything. He just doesn't participate in team drills. And the reason why is because he's waiting for his new contract, doesn't want to risk an injury before the new contract is signed. I understand that.
Yeah.
But Steelers go out and but Steelers go out and pick up Mark Ingram.
Best defensive player in the NFL.
Right? I call him the two-time should have been NFL Defensive Player of the Year.
Yeah, it's the two-time. If Aaron Donald doesn't exist, it should have been.
It was the defensive back from the Patriots.
Gilmore, right.
Yeah,
so
Gilmore won it 2 years ago.
And Donald last year.
Yeah.
So Watt is unreal, and I know like within the division, it's a Myles Garrett versus TJ Watt, and it's I'm gonna lean Watt because he's an A+ run defender and an A+ pass rusher. I know Garrett might have at times be a better pass rusher. He might be that A++, that best edge in the NFL as a pass rusher, but Watt is as consistent as it comes as a run defender, and Garrett is just generally okay, competent, but Watt is he's all over Lamar when it's a Ravens Steelers game. He's all over Mixon and Chubb and all the backs you guys play every year, and it's really fun to watch. I hate that it's a Steeler, but it's a lot of fun to watch when you guys play.
Yeah, and I'm telling you, I watch a ton of Baltimore games. Because I live in the area. They whenever the Steelers aren't playing, I generally like watching Baltimore because they play similarly, tough defense, keep the games close, own the clock. Smart football, and I enjoy watching good strategic football like that. But one thing I was getting at too, picking up Mark Ingram as a pass rusher, as a free agent, where the guy is a starter in his own right. Steelers have no designs on him starting. Highsmith's their guy. But with him coming in and Watt sitting out, with the two of them playing, they've been flip-flopping during the same sets. So it's not just like Bud Dupree can only play on the left side and Watt, on the right side, and Bud was playing on the left. Actually, they started off the other way in their careers, and then you're like, well, we're going to swap you for the season. They didn't swap back and forth during games, but Ingram and Highsmith were. So now I'm expecting Highsmith and Watt to be doing that if they see some mismatches, because they each have the ability to play other sides in tandem, and all three of those guys can do it. And that's the first time the Steelers have ever been 3 deep with guys that could play both sides. They've never been able to do that with offensive tackles, but it's going to outside linebackers. But they're going to be really interesting to watch and have some really. After leading the league in sacks for the past 4 years, year number 5, I'm expecting this to happen again, really. Yeah. So, I'm cautiously optimistic for the season this year, getting back to your original point before we get off on tangents all the time. Yeah. I think the Steelers can hit. Yeah, I know, right? We've got an hour, so well, why not? Tangent all the time.
Exactly.
But yes, I think Steelers 10 wins is very manageable this season.
I think so too. And I haven't dug deep into the Steelers' schedule like I have with Baltimore. I write articles for the Ravens, and I've had to go through their schedule every single week, right? Yeah. So I know Baltimore is a very hard schedule, but a very workable schedule that I think if you made a power ranking and you took out all the divisional games, the 6 hardest games are at home. So Chiefs, Rams, Chargers. It's unreal. Like, it is top.
But at least you get them
teams.
at home.
Yeah, it's like Chargers, Chiefs, Rams, Packers, Vikings. All of those games are at M&T Bank.
Oh.
And then I think I'm missing one. Oh, Colts. Colts is a primetime game. And then the road games. Miami, that's a tough game, but we always beat Miami. Kind of like you guys with Indianapolis. I remember I was working with the Steelers fan, and I said the Steelers could start Charlie Brown and still beat the Colts. The Colts could have the 2009 Colts, everything loaded, and the Steelers could be the 1933 Steelers. The Steelers would win that game. I do not care what you think. It's uncanny. But so Baltimore plays Miami on the road, Thursday night game, Denver on the road, Vegas on the road, which I wish I could go to, but it's $1,000
Yes.
to get to the stadium.
Oh, 1,000.
Yeah, just I think it. I'm based in
Wow.
Tucson right now, so I think I could fly.
Wow.
I could fly back and forth 6 times, and it would be cheaper than $1,000.
To tell you the truth, you know what you should do, Splash, is you should just go out to hang out for the game, and as soon as game time starts, I'm sure you can get a scalp ticket for $100.
Ooh,
That's the angle you want to play if you want to do that.
I don't know how I feel about scalp tickets. I watched a video the other day of it's like bad angles in ballparks. So the scalpers would get these awful tickets. They'd be like behind poles, like think Fenway Park.
These new $1 billion stadiums, there are no bad seats. This isn't like going to the Green Monster up there in Boston and you're facing – I was in the outfield seats, third base side, and I'm facing the outfield. It's like I gotta look like this just to see the freaking batter. And my neck starts hurting after the third freaking inning.
Very true, very true. So that's fair. So I don't know. It is a 6-hour drive from Tucson to Vegas. So I don't know.
That's just about closer than any other stadium you're going to be able to drive to, other than the Cactus Run Stadium there in Arizona.
So yeah. So it's Vegas, Denver, Miami, Detroit, Chicago. Chicago's interesting with Fields if he's starting or not, and then there should just be 5. Yeah. So the Detroit, Chicago, Denver, Vegas, Miami. So if you ranked those 11 teams, I would imagine most people, the 6 harder games at M&T Bank, the 5 easier games on the road, maybe Miami and Minnesota are wishy-washy, but the majority of the season is hard, but an easier hard, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I hear you. Like you're saying, that's a great metric. If you're playing your 6 toughest opponents for the season at home, that's a huge advantage as opposed to playing on the road where it's almost assured that those other teams are going to win those 6. At home, you got a good chance of winning too because you got the crowd on your side. You got crowd noise. Awesome fans, loud stadium. I've been there many times.
Yeah. Oh man, I remember.
You guys are.
The last Ravens game I went to was week. Oh, it was actually the Ravens Steelers RG3 versus Mason Rudolph. I think.
Oh gosh, I was at that game. He destroyed us. RG3 just destroyed us.
I was ugly. I was row 500 all the way up at the top, pouring down rain. It was so cool. It was so loud. And you're like, yeah, we're going to go win the Super Bowl. And then Derrick Henry happens 2 weeks later.
Yep. Well, funny enough, I used to have season tickets to the Ravens. And I used to go to my Steeler game and sell the rest of the tickets, usually the rest of the year. I ended up selling my PSLs to my mom, who is a diehard Ravens fan, by the way. She lives down in Baltimore. But she took me to that game, so I got to sit in the old seats and sit around all the other guys that used to razz me every time I came in. It's like, hey guys, how you doing?
Yeah.
Right.
I think we sat next to a couple Steelers fans. I went with my uncle. So you know, the usual classy fans, as long as you're not, heckling them. So
yeah, I mean and I play, like I said, I used to be a Brown season ticket holder too, because you couldn't get Steelers season tickets. It took me a couple years to get my Steelers season tickets, and once I did, then I sold my other ones. But I mean, I went to a ton of Browns games. I went to a Browns game. It was a Sunday game, and they were playing the Houston Texans the day before the Steelers played a Monday night game, just because I had both. I'm like, fuck, we're doing a Cleveland-Pittsburgh doubleheader back-to-back 2 nights. So this will be fun. Yeah, but I went to that game, and I'm in my Steeler gear, but I was like, I'm actually rooting for the Browns today, guys. I was rooting for them against the Houston team. We're having a blast with the fans around us, and we had a good rapport with them. So it was a good time, really good time. And they're good people. As long as you're not going to be like, you guys suck or that guy sucks. All Browns fans are stupid as hell. It's stupid ultimatum shit. I'm like, I'm here to have fun. I'm here to root for my team. I'm not here to diss your team. I'm just excited. If my team does something cool, I'm going to get up and yell about it.
Right, the only time I'm a Cavs fan. So I went to organized a trip to Cleveland. I went to the Wednesday Cavs game, the Friday Cavs game, and then Ravens at Browns week 16.
Nice.
When Lamar went bonkers at the end of the first half. And that was I think I made some Browns fans mad because I was standing to start the second half. Yeah. So I think that was it.
They'll yell at you to sit down. They'll yell at you. And when you're at a away stadium, you kind of have to. Yeah. You have to. Yeah. It's like I'm not home. I can't just stand. and just say, "You guys stand up," and they're gonna be like, "You might get a fight." People are weird about that stuff.
Yeah, and I went to that game, well, technically by myself. Like I got there by myself, but I met a buddy there, so it's kind of like I don't
Cool.
want I don't want to cause any problems. I don't want to get stabbed today. I just want to watch the Ravens and the Browns game.
Nice.
Yeah,
Nice.
so that was exciting. That was exciting. So you said 10 wins?
10 wins, yeah. I honestly, and I still don't. I honestly don't know. Like, I am not confident that the Steelers are going to win the division, only because with this extra game, now the Steelers being the number one team or the first place finishing team in the division has to play an extra first place team.
Yep.
So normally we had to play two different teams than you guys would normally play, but ours would be slotted first, and you guys would be slotted, I guess, third, right? Technically,
Cleveland would be third.
Oh, so Cleveland was third. Okay, so you guys are second. So
they get what? Arizona, the Patriots, and the Jags? No, Texans.
Yeah, something like that. But at least back then, when there was only a 2-game difference, it really evened out because you're playing your opponent twice. Right. So if you lose those 2 games yet you sweep your opponent, it's kind of a wash. Now Steelers have to play 3 games, so there's no way to recover that extra game of toughness if you drop them all. Buffalo being case in point, and we're going to be playing here week 1. But
I don't know about that one. And then you get Tennessee as well. Oh, that Tennessee-Pittsburgh was one of the forgotten awesome games.
Yes.
Even though they couldn't stop you on third down. It was 10 of 11, and the one that you didn't convert was like a penalty conversion. That was honestly the worst.
It was a sick game that year. That game for the Steelers at least. And that's how you beat Tennessee. You got to keep Henry off the field.
Yeah,
and no better way to do it than convert third downs
in NFL history.
Oh gosh, that's insane.
That's one of the stats that I know Baltimore's set some records for rushing offense, but it's insane how bad some third down defenses were last year. There were, I think, as far as I know, from 94 to 2019, there was no team that allowed a conversion on more than 50%.
Wow.
Tennessee had allowed 53%, something ridiculous. And then Carolina was 51%. So Carolina was awful. Tennessee was somehow even worse. It's
that's insane.
What? And it's even just pure math. You'd think okay, you're not going to convert every 3rd and 6. And then you watch the Pittsburgh Tennessee game, and it's yep, they're converting every single 3rd and 6 and 3rd and 10 and 3rd and 15.
Yeah.
It's oh my Lord. That Titans fans are something else. The Titans as a whole are just I think that
they have a lot to be excited about. I like their whole I love the coach. He's a hard-nosed coach. That's Rabel, right? Yeah, he was drafted by the Steelers. I wanted the Steelers to retain him back when Gilden was getting old, and he ended up being the Steelers' all-time leading sack artist until Harrison just passed him. But yeah, at that point, I'm it's time to move on from Gilbert and let this young kid play, because he could play. He was flashing in preseason. When he got into games, he was getting to the backfield. He was being disruptive. I'm this is the next guy, next man up for the Steelers. But they kept Gilden a couple extra years. He got to go to the Patriots and win a couple Super Bowls up there. So it ended up working out for him.
A Super Bowl touchdown, right?
Right. Yeah. Especially making him a tight end, a gimmick tight end. That was brilliant. Absolutely brilliant for goal line.
Good old Belichick. And who was the OC at the time? It was before McDaniels.
Was that Charlie Weis back then?
I
don't know if I'm predating. And I know he was one of them around then.
Yeah, I'll take it. The first memories I have of Charlie Weis are at Kansas.
Yeah, I remember when he tried to go to Notre Dame there for a bit after the Patriots. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I with all due respect, if I did a season prediction right now, I think I would have Pittsburgh finishing 3rd, but I think they're either in the playoffs or out of the playoffs on a tiebreaker. Yeah. Because at a certain point, Pittsburgh has such a high floor because they're going to win 9 games. I'm sure you felt this way, that it doesn't matter who, what, when, where, why, how. If Tomlin's there, you're winning. You're winning at least 8 games. This year, you're going to win at least 9 games, and it's. I don't know. I like the defense a lot. It's still an elite unit. I thought Najee opens the Super Bowl window because you have that go-to guy that Terrell Davis Super Bowl run. That Sean Alexander getting to the Super Bowl and then Pittsburgh things happen.
Right.
And then Derrick Henry to the AFC title game in 2019. Any number of running backs don't matter, but when they do matter, and Najee Harris, I think, is a running back that will matter. It can be really scary. I don't have any interest. I don't think any of the Ravens guys have interest tackling Najee Harris January 8th.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to it, to tell you the truth, because I'm hoping that the rookie wall doesn't hit him hard, because Mike Tomlin has been known to be a run the wheels off of the guy type of coach. You get your feature back and you work. He's your workhorse. You work him. You don't give him a lot of rest. Le'Veon Bell would end up breaking down at the end of the year. Willie Parker broke his leg at the end of the year when he was leading the league in rushing. And I think that was in 11. Yeah, 10, right around there.
The Mendenhall years and the
yeah. So we like to really run our running backs hard. The good thing is with our new offensive coordinator, Matt Canada, and utilizing the strengths of the players around him, bringing in more athletic running backs like McFarland, who used to play right there at University of Maryland.
McFarland.
Yeah, he was and that was the guy the running back the Steelers ended up with. They didn't get J.K. Dobbins. They ended up getting McFarland in that draft. But that's his old offensive coordinator. That's why he's now number 2 on the depth chart, because Matt Canada coached that big year for McFarland over at University of Maryland. Now he knows how to run that offense. He's a bit better of a pass catcher than Najee Harris. I thought our best pass catcher was Jalen Samuels. We just cut him today. Kept Benny Snell, kept Balaj with the old vet too in the league, who can catch the ball out of the backfield as well. So, yeah, this is going to be interesting to see. I'm already locked in on the defense too. They went out and they made moves. We went out and getting up Joe Schober from Jackson. That was something I didn't really think the Steelers needed to make. But they said we're gonna sell out this year. We're gonna hit every single weak spot on this defense. And inside linebacker was a weakness on the other side of Bush. Now we're locked. Cornerback still, I think the Steelers might be making a move here at cornerback and possibly offensive line. Somebody that can play all 3 interior positions, because I don't know about you guys with your cuts, but we had an odd thing this year. We kept 8 offensive players, offensive linemen. Only 8, and it's usually you keep about 10, 9 or 10, 9 minimum. But Steelers,
I know we traded Bredesen to the Giants today, which I thought was a little strange, but I think as of right now it's Stanley, Big Al, which I'm not a Alejandro Villanueva fan, but okay, whatever, I guess. Then you got Cleveland, Powers. So that's 4. Macari's still on the roster. Colon Castillo. The guy that actually is going to be playing center this season, Bozeman. Juwan James, but he's on IR, so he doesn't count. Which I actually like the Juwan James thing. I don't mind Villanueva for a year, and then you have a potentially high upside guy in Juwan James moving forward.
Right. Smart move too, waiting for after the counting period for the weighted compensatory draft picks after the draft to pick up. Yeah. So you picked up Villanueva without costing you, as a free agent, without costing you any compensation, which was always the way that Baltimore seems to do it.
Yeah, same thing with Zeitler, that the Giants just straight up cut him. It wasn't like a contract ran out. It was he just got straight cut. And Baltimore is not going to have to pay a fifth, maybe, I don't know, comp pick for him. It's you're getting comp pick for Judon. You're getting a comp pick for Ngakoue.
Right.
Would Minnesota get it? I don't know the Ngakoue situation, because Minnesota has some part of his rights in Jacksonville, whatever. Yeah. But regardless, Baltimore isn't making unnecessary. They're checking all their I's, or they're dotting all their I's, they're crossing all their T's, and Pittsburgh does the same. Colbert is an awesome general manager. I don't think he gets enough credit for having a consistently good team.
Yeah, and he's been killing it these last couple drafts. Really has. We had everybody from last year's draft on the roster at the end of the season. This year we lost Brooks, who also used to play at University of Maryland, strong safety. Played quarterback actually 13 miles down the road in high school from College Park. But he was cut because he was injured. He was slotted to be our starting slot corner. So I don't know if we're going to try to bring him back later. And then the only draft pick that we didn't keep was Roche, the outside linebacker, which Steelers loved. Yeah, on paper, like we were all super excited to get Roche that deep in the draft, like 5th round, I think, or something like that, or 6th actually. Yeah, but he didn't make the team, unfortunately, and it's because Jamar Jones just played out of his mind during the preseason and training camp. He was the top performer, that guy under the radar. No chance of making the team. Leapfrogs Marsh ahead of him. Leapfrogs the guy drafted ahead of him, Quincy Jones, in the same draft to make this team as the 4th outside linebacker. And I like him. I honestly thought we were 6 deep at outside linebacker going into cuts. Like Roche could be on a roster. Marsh can be on a roster in the NFL, and I think they both will end up if Roche doesn't end up making it to the practice squad, which I think the Steelers are trying to get him on.
Right.
But still, it's a lot of draft talent. When the previous year, the only backups we had we had Highsmith as a rookie, and he was doing pretty well. And then the other side was Ola Adeniji, who ended up going to Tennessee with Bud Dupree. And he really wasn't somebody that can come on and do anything. Like Jameer Jones can come on the field and make some moves. Mm-hmm. I know Ingram can come on the field and make some moves as backups. And now
he can do it to Lamar Jackson in a playoff game.
Right. Yeah, so like
I'm up to date on my meme knowledge.
Yeah, that's it.
If I had $1 for every time, so there's this guy in the group chat named Tay. Shout out to Tay. If I had $1 for every time he sent the same picture of Melvin Ingram strip sacking Lamar in the 4th quarter of the playoff game, I could buy the Ravens from Steve Biscotti. Now, granted, we send plenty of pictures of. Was it Steven Nelson that Stephon Diggs just put into the ground with a cut?
I don't remember.
There's a Steeler face down, and Stephon Diggs is like running down the field. We also have the 28-0 with the Browns game.
Yeah.
But Tay tries to defend himself and say that the Browns weren't sure they were winning that game. And if you're up 28-0, you should be pretty sure, which fair, but it's screwy things happen in the playoffs. The Falcons blew a 25-point lead. Yeah. What's to say the Browns can't blow a 28-point lead in 3 quarters?
Yeah. Yeah, Steelers made it a game. Steelers ended up making it a game. But.
That was a fun playoff game. Now it was the memes were hilarious because Ben Roethlisberger, every time he throws 4 interceptions, it's hilarious.
Yeah,
and I'm sure they would have the same hilarity if Flacco threw a bunch of interceptions or when Lamar Jackson just drops the football against your team. Yeah. So but uber entertaining game. Mm-hmm. You know, how often do you see 85 points in a playoff game?
Yeah, right.
500 passing yards from Ben. You know that was an unreal. I can't wait for football.
Oh, I know. Meaningful football. And the thing that kills me now, Splash, too, is having to wait this extra damn week before the season starts. Holy crap, man, does this suck?
Yeah, it's like, oh, man. It would be so cool.
Let's just keep the marathon going for an extra week.
Hey, at least I get a minimum of 17 Ravens games. So I'm blessed to see that, you know. So love to see that. So Pittsburgh
don't have a week off until your bye. When's your bye this year?
I want to say it's week 8 or week 9. It's
I think we're earlier. We're like week 8. 7 or 8.
Okay, one of us, maybe it's Cleveland. I think Cleveland plays us, has a bye, then plays us again.
Oh wow!
And then our version of a bye week is playing Pittsburgh.
Right?
So it's like we get like death match, and the Browns get like a bye week right in the middle. So we have to care about another team, and the Browns can just say, okay, we're gonna gear up for Baltimore, but twice in a row.
They've got to fix that scheduling. I hate that about the NFL, and the NFL has been doing that a lot with the Steelers and the Browns too, and the Steelers and the Ravens, where we end up playing each other like twice in a 3 to 4 week span, and that should never happen. That should never happen. You should play when you're division rivals. You should play each other once each, once each half of the year. Yeah, I would say not twice in the same half.
I don't know. Like I'd be down for a mid-October game at M&T Bank and then a mid-December game at Heinz. Like I'd be down for that. Or if it's the Browns, it's like a end of September game, like a late November, early December game. You know, heck, even like last year, we played Cleveland week 1 and then played them again week 14. I thought that was good. You know, the Cincinnati game was spread out. You know, play week 5, then week 17. Even the Pittsburgh game was both technically would have been in November, had like November 1st. Rest in peace, Ronnie Stanley, and technically would have been Thanksgiving, but right at the beginning of December, which that I think is okay. Granted,
that was just a weird week. That was a weird week.
Yeah, that was weird.
Sorry, you're not going to play on a Thursday. You're going to play on the following Wednesday, and then you're going to play again next Monday and Tuesday. We played a Tuesday game. Yeah, that was sad.
I think last year was the only time ever that all 7 days of the week were played in the same year.
There was a game every single day of the week last year because I think they hit a Friday too.
Because the Christmas game was like the Kamara 6 touchdown game was on a Friday.
Right. Yes.
Then,
that's it.
You know, you usually play on Thursdays and Sundays and Mondays. Then we had the Dallas Ravens game was Tuesday. The Ravens Steelers game was Wednesday, and then there were a couple Saturday games. When Josh Allen tortured the Broncos, that was a Saturday game. That was a fun game.
Yeah.
All right. Any last thoughts? We have a couple more minutes left.
Well, one thing that I noticed that I'm actually wearing my Baltimore shirt from my alma mater.
That's hilarious.
University of Maryland, Baltimore County.
Retrievers. Retrievers. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. It's right there. I'm just blind.
Yeah, it's the only team in the NCAA tournament to ever win as a 16 seed, and I was happily there at the game when it happens. I've been to every single UMBC NCAA basketball game, all 3. And that's only because they won one against Virginia. They got to play 2 that year. They got to. Yeah. We're like, we're staying. Looks like we're staying. Got to find extra nights for the hotel room.
Yeah, I have a buddy actually that has a the number 2 star on the team in 18. I'm blanking on his name, but he has a retriever shirt. It's really nice. I'm like, ooh, that one's nice. So shout out to UMBC. That was unreal. I know that was. Yeah. I actually picked a 16/1 in one of my important brackets. I thought Penn was going to beat Kansas, and Virginia goes down. It's like, huh? Really? Why? Because the Penn, I think the number was Penn was the strongest 16 seed in 10 years, and Kansas was like a 3 seed masquerading as a 1 seed, and then they go to I think they went to the Final Four, which I hate when that the year that Oregon was it Chris Boucher tore his ACL in the Pac-12 tournament. They're the 3 seed. And it's they're going to lose to the 14 seed, and then they're going to lose to Rhode Island, and then poof, they're a shot away from going to the final, or a shot away from going to the friggin' championship game. But
there's nothing like the tournament. The college basketball tournament is the single most exciting thing to watch ever. There's always somebody that makes a run that we're just like, who the heck? Where the hell is this team? And
it's like,
where'd they come from?
It's like how does Dayton make the Elite Eight? How does the 7 seed UConn Huskies win the tournament?
So are you from the Baltimore area? Is that how you became a Baltimore fan?
I'm from Atlanta. I thank television for becoming a Ravens fan.
Wow, that's cool.
I learned the Ravens existed before I learned the Falcons existed.
Wow.
Yeah. So
living in Atlanta.
So I am a Braves fan because I knew the Braves existed, right? But my first experience with football was a Week 8 game. 2006 Colts versus Redacteds. Colts won. They were undefeated at the time. The next week, maybe after a bye week, they played the Cowboys. The Cowboys were really good at the time. Colts lost. I remember I was sitting on my dad's side of the master bed, and I had a crick in my neck. So I was just sitting like that for 3 hours, and it was the worst. And then the next game, I watched the wild card game. So when Tony Romo botched the snap against Seattle, the New England Jets game.
Remember that one?
Oh, the other one was the 23-8 Colts over Chiefs. Trent Green started I think it was Trent Green. Peyton was awful in that game, but you still beat the Chiefs. Yeah. And then there was the other. I don't remember watching the other NFC game. And then you have the 15-6 Colts over Ravens. You have the classic upset Patriots over the MVP LT and the Chargers. Saints win. They're like the weird 10-6 seed, or 10-16 that is a 2 seed. Then the Bears steamroll Seattle.
Yep.
Then the first ever bet I made. I was 5 years old. I told my uncle, okay, it's going to be a Colts and Saints Super Bowl. My uncle said it was going to be a Patriots and Bears, and we didn't end up winning. I didn't end up winning anything. So
you were each right with one team.
Yeah, exactly. I remember if my dad's listening, we were stuck on a plane in DC the night of the conference championship games, and I remember asking my dad, "Hey, what's the score of the Saints and Bears game?" And he said the Bears were just killing the Saints. It's like, oh, okay, darn. I'm not gonna beat. I think my Uncle Mike in that. Maybe Uncle Mike was on. Either way, so yeah, that was my introduction to good old sports. So yeah, I learned the Ravens existed before the Falcons existed, and at that point I didn't have the understanding of teams play in a city, and that city has multiple teams.
Yeah.
Because I understand the vast majority of sports fans have at least same geographical teams. Say like Pittsburgh, for example, doesn't have a basketball team. Right?
Correct.
But you would Knicks is geographically okay. Sixers is a little weird.
Closest to Pittsburgh would be Cleveland. Cleveland's the closest NBA team to Pittsburgh because it's only 2 hours away.
Okay,
you're 5-6 hours to Eagles, and then to the Sixers to Philadelphia. About 5-6 hours down the turnpike, depending on how you're driving and where you're stopping. But yeah, you got another hour and a half north then if you're hitting New York.
Gotcha. So
Baltimore would probably be the next closest, but they don't have the Bullets anymore. They went and became the Wizards in DC.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
DC would be next closest then.
Yeah, I was actually talking to a buddy. He's from the Carolinas, right? And before the Panthers came to town, everyone in North Carolina was a Falcons fan. So it was like Falcons and Braves. And then the Panthers come to town, and it's, why are you rooting for an Atlanta sports team? Don't you hate Atlanta? It's like, yes. Huh. Why are we Braves fans? And there was, before the Nationals and the Ravens came along, there were a lot of Redacteds and Orioles fans. And that, to me, seems like...
Well, actually, you'd be surprised because I lived in the Baltimore area after the Colts left.
That's a good point.
Yeah, I moved into the area. Well, I guess the Colts left in like 86. And so I came into the area about 88, 84, 86. I can't remember. But I came into that area in 88. And that area had all of the Redacteds games on TV. Everybody in school hated the Washington football team at the time with a different name. Everybody hated them. Like everybody else liked a different team, either Dallas or Denver, Colorado was good. The Denver Broncos were good then. I was a big Steeler fan. There was a couple Steeler fans there in the school, but they were just like everybody just liked other team, and a ton of Colts fans because Colts were the team. Used to be in Baltimore, still rooting for them, even though they're over there.
Marching band too.
Yeah, they took a couple years of being the Ravens. They were still the Colts marching band for like the first 2 or 3 years. I think that they were marching for the Ravens before they turned and became the Ravens marching band.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite things when I go to games. It's like I don't know what other teams do. I've only been to a handful of NFL games, but it's very cool.
Yeah, it's really nice to watch them come all the way up Ravens Walk and they're playing their instruments, and it really gets everybody pumped because it's just like going to a college game. To tell you the truth, that's part of the college experience. So if you like that, the big bands and playing the fun and enjoying the parade before a game.
Speaking of enjoying, I really enjoyed this. This was like
me too.
I had been talking. Well, yeah, one of my good buddies on the app is a Steelers fan. He's like, yeah, we need to do a show sometime. It's like, yeah, sure. And then Ravens and Steelers fans can coexist. We didn't get mad at each other.
Oh, I know. I've got like I said, my best friend's a Ravens fan. My mom's a Raven fan. I can talk Ravens football the best one. I talked a lot of fans off the ledge in 2013 when they were stating that Joe Flacco couldn't win a Super Bowl. I said, this guy's not only capable of winning a Super Bowl. I saw you guys win a Super Bowl at Dilfer, and he's way better quarterback than Dilfer.
Yeah. Oh, man. And here I am. By the time my dad got me a Flacco jersey, he was gone within 2 years. So,
well, I can definitely sit down and watch a Ravens-Steeler game with you anytime. Thanks for having me on the show, Splash. This is a great thing, and I hope Steeler Nation comes in and is contributing pretty hard to this hurricane relief marathon that you're doing. That's a great job.
For sure. And I do want to say that this is my mom's account. It's just under my name. Hi, Mom. So thank you for joining, and make sure
Thanks,
you're
Mom.
listening. Like the stream, subscribe to the channel, follow us on Twitter and Instagram.